It'll say at the top left of Zoom when it's ready. Okay, and so we are live with definitely my most exciting meeting of the week, and favorite guest, Dr. Phil Schneider, is one of the most outstanding human beings I know. He's a master clinician. He's a professor emeritus from Queens College. He has shaped the career, the field, impacted the lives of countless therapists who remember him as a beloved professor. His lessons in anatomy, he managed to make anatomy meaningful, taking his shoes off, and the odor was memorable, but the lessons were too, where he put his shoes on the desk and show you how the arytenoids move. But more than that, in his decades of work and documenting it in film and in stories, but most importantly through the legacy of the lives that he has touched, he is just someone who brings a lot of good into the work and into life. He's also my teacher, my father, and it's a big treat. And it looks like you're at the International Space Station, is that right?
Coming to you from inner space.
Amazing. So good morning, good morning. Wow, so you're on Zoom. That's hard to believe. And you got the screen going.
Figured out which buttons to click. I don't know how this works. Just added it to more and more things that I don't understand that are amazing. And it becomes a life of just believing in things that you have no cognitive insight into.
Wow. So, in addition to the meetings we've done with parents and with teens and adults that you've participated in some of those meetings, those free meetups, what are your thoughts with Zoom? A lot of people are wondering, can it really have a therapeutic effect? Is there a way to connect in this way through a screen? After all, we're not sharing the same space. What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm sort of old school, and as you know personally, resistant to new things, I think as many people are, particularly as we get older. So I've always, and my manner of working was always, we sit down face to face in sort of an office setting, and it had a certain style to it. If it involved a child with parents, be they a very young child or an older child, our model was always to include the parents. So it's sort of a one room rather than a waiting room and therapy room. And that was the model. And so when things shifted with the situation of people not getting together physically, I thought it was time for me to stop, that the practice would just take a big halt. And because that was the model and there was no other. And then when it was suggested that there were other ways to work, it was like, not for me, it doesn't feel right. So I started from a point, as I often do, of resistance to change. And then bit by bit, I started to wind up getting involved in some of these technologies. But it was time for me to stop the practice. And it, in fact, opened up a whole new world. And so I don't know how many weeks we're into this situation where people are not sitting in an office, but the quality of my work has improved. And I'd like to give a few examples, because it's just amazing for me to contemplate how, when you reach a point where you think nothing's possible, something new opens up, which takes you to a place that's even more powerful than before. So first of all, people don't need to spend time traveling. You set a time to start your meeting and boom, they're there and you're there. So in a way, right away, that's more efficient, because it would take people 3-4 hours to spend an hour together. And that's awesome. We don't need to touch people in most, it's not necessary to see and to hear. And sitting here looking at you on the screen, it's very intense. I really feel that I'm speaking directly at you and I'm watching your face respond to me. A couple of specific examples that have occurred. One, I've been able to bring family members together at the same time, even when they're not in the same place. So if one parent's working with a youngster, or one person's working with their spouse, supporting their spouse, I've been able to hook in their kids and their siblings and make it a family project instead of just a one-on-one. So I've been able to get more people together at the same time. Recently, I've had 2 situations where people were in hospitals which related to this virus, and there was no ability for family, friends, or outside professionals to visit or make contact. And I found that with a cell phone, I was able to help 2 people while they were actually laying in hospital beds. And that was amazing to me, because it was like the choice of nothing happening versus something which was really powerful. And the next piece that emerged is time frames. The typical model I'd been using was I'd meet with a family or an individual once a week for a session, sometimes every other week. And now I'm finding that once we sit down and we're very focused. People come to the meeting, I tell them, come to the meeting with your questions. I collect information from them, but since I'm not seeing them live, somehow I felt compelled to see them more. And so I said, look, could you send me some clips every day of what you're doing, whether it's working on your voice, whether it's working on articulation with your kid or yourself, whether it's working on your dialect or whether it's working on your fluency, whatever it is, can you send me clips every day, like a 2-minute clip, and send me a few comments in the question, like look at minute such and such. So through the WhatsApp, I'm getting all these video clips. People are asking me their questions and making their comments. I'm able to quickly, in 2-minute slot here and there, respond. And I wind up with an entire historical record in chronological order of video clips of the work, of the comments that go back and forth. So my bookkeeping is better. My ability to dial into this material and the family to do the same on the other end is something I never dreamt of. It just kind of emerged. And the sense of availability with this system, so with computers and cell phones, of being able to see and hear, it gives you flexibility of where you are in time. And I find that I'm much more supportive to the families that I'm working with than I was before. Before it was like, if you have a problem or you have a thought, hold it, we'll talk about it next week. Now it's send it to me. And as soon as I get a free moment, I'll click in, check it out, either write you a note back and or call you.
Yeah.
And I now feel that I could not possibly justify going back to the other model because it doesn't feel as powerful.
Wow. So are there any specific, for example, with stuttering or with voice, any specific surprises for you that you really thought would be, this would be impossible? You know, this one thing, and actually you're finding that too you're able to do.
So in the voice work, there's a concern that you're going to hear things live that you won't hear through technology. And now that I've discovered these little earplugs that come with your cell phone and that they plug into the computer, the acoustics are better because all the extraneous noise is out. And I'm listening to you as if you are sitting right up against my face. And the acoustics are excellent. So that's pretty amazing. A big thing is when you see people after you've spoken to them say, okay, show me what you've been practicing. And you look at it and you're going, that's not what I had in mind. They could have wasted a week. And bigger than that, they could have been doing something that was not spot on, not getting the results they were hoping to get, and feeling like the therapy was not working. And by seeing and having them send a clip the next day, as soon as they start their work, I'm able to notice right away if there needs to be any fine tuning. So that's been a real boon. And then just the fact that I'm expecting something each day keeps people on the job. So I wrote to a family yesterday, I didn't see any video today. I hope you're okay. Now, maybe they're not okay, God forbid, but they know that I'm thinking of them. And I believe that in and of itself, that makes a difference. And also it keeps people on the project.
Yeah. I think these days, I know for us and for the kids, have with you and with Safta, they have their once a week fixture of a meeting with grandma and grandpa on the phone and bringing together the cousins and the brothers together, Zooming. It becomes an anchor. I think sometimes the touch points are really, really important, but I think all of us are feeling routines are upside down these days. And so having more access and contact keeps, as you call it, the project, whatever the engagement is about, keeps it fresh, keeps it alive, and gives you your coach in your corner in a more accessible way.
So while trying not to be callous to all the people who are really suffering, because there's a tremendous amount of suffering in the world over people's economic situations, people's health situations, issues of social injustice. One of the other things that's going on, which is both a challenge to parents, and you know, because you're a parent of young kids, is that there's more time between the parents and the children. So if a parent has the ability, very often they have more time to work on this project, or one parent might. So whatever the speech project is, there's more opportunity for follow through. So again, for those people who are in a situation where they can, there are some advantages.
Yeah. Now, just a quick plug, this Sunday, June 14th, we're doing another series of free meetups for parents. That'll be in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we'll have a group for adults, and after that, a group for teens. You can see more on the website, schneiderspeech.com. A lot of people were interested in, you recently started experiencing Parkinson's, not so recently. And there's a blog post with a video of a speech you gave. How's that been going? How has that, added insight and added perspective to the work and to your journey?
As I said, with when the virus hit and we couldn't see people in the office, I thought it was the end of a chapter in my life, end of a work chapter, and it opened up a whole new way of working, which has excited me tremendously. And I found myself wanting to share that with professionals. So I'm like reinvigorated. So out of the dark space came a new ray of light. When my body started to play games on me and shake and tremble and become weak and falling and all kinds of stuff, losing my voice and drooling, so my speech became unclear. It seemed pretty clear to me that my work life was coming to an end. And at some point it became not the Parkinson's disease, which is a kind of a passive way of seeing your role. The disease is active and you are passive. It became the Parkinson's challenge. It became like an athletic event to me, which is like, how far could I push myself to overcome the challenges that were coming about and actually enjoy it? And what I've gotten out of it that affects my work life is I had to start I felt compelled at first to hide. And I felt ashamed of being seen with my body out of control. And I went like, wow, this has a parallel to stuttering. There's a motor dysfunction, which you're not in control of, which feels humiliating because there's a deep feeling of like you should not be seen out of control of your body. It's not intellectual thought, and it doesn't grow slowly. It hits you with a bang. And it gave me like a visceral window on what people who grow up with stuttering feel like when their body is basically, they want to say something and their body goes out of control. So there's a risk to speak. I had a risk to walk down the street and I had to keep my hand in my pocket, I felt. And then I had to avoid certain social settings like synagogue settings where I felt I couldn't stand and I couldn't hold the book. And I didn't want to be seen as less than. It's a visceral sense of this. And I thought about this whole parallel all the time. And then, of course, when my voice and my speech articulation was going down, and I found it really hard, all the tricks in the book weren't working. I had to muster up the positive energy and finally hire somebody to push me from behind to work harder. So I think being in a challenge gives you, intensifies your opportunity to empathize with other people's challenges, how you would like people to respond or not respond. I found there were times where I wanted to talk about it. There were times where I didn't want to talk about it. It was sort of a coming out of the closet period, which you were present for when you were at that National Stuttering Association meeting. So I think, and then as I've come to the other side of the moon and I'm doing better in a lot of areas of my life than I was, I feel impassioned to reach out and support other people who are going through this. So it's opened up a window of helping a lot of people with speech and voice problems related to Parkinson's. And that's a chapter in my life that I experienced in the 1970s, it's quite a few decades ago. And now it's back, and I'm helping people get back to work, be able to speak who'd given up their speaking careers, a couple of educators and rabbis. And and being able to know what things feel like from the inside, it's an edge. And I think that, so I see this as a gift, and I'm completely in as far as
I've been so struck by some of the times you've shared it explicitly or even now implicitly. There's the physical experience, and then there's the whole inner experience, and that relates to Parkinson's, that relates to your voice not cooperating or not being dependable. It relates to stuttering, it relates to learning differences where you study for the test and you show up for the test and all of a sudden it's not there. You did all the homework, you're prepared. So many of the things we work with are this intersection of this, the physical experience, the clinical experience, the measurable experience, and then the human experience. And the other thing that struck me that was a common thread was you talked about the benefit of Zoom being able to be there for people, sometimes for the emotional support, which is something that you're certainly known for. But it sounded like also there's this kind of coaching element of kind of being able to fine tune and give feedback, and that feedback loop, not just being an emotional one, but a technical one, where parents and people can check in and say, well, how does this sound? Or does this look, does this look the way it should? Or what do you think here? Or I'm really stuck over here. What would you suggest? Can you talk about a little bit, even in your own life? I know now you've got more coaches and trainers than ever before. A lot of people think of you and think of the counseling and the emotional side, and certainly in no way to negate or belittle that, but can you share a little bit about your thoughts about the relationship or the dynamic of the coach, of the therapist, as you call it, the doula sometimes, can you tell us a little bit about that other side of you that not everyone gets to see, but in addition to the emotional counseling piece, what are your thoughts about that other element of the other hat that you wear at times?
You mean the coaching part?
Yeah.
So first of all, so I'm involved with a physical trainer who's dedicated to helping people with Parkinson's, and he has his own little gym, which we're not using right now. But I still work with him several times a week.
Wait a second. You see your trainer, but you don't see him in person. Can you just tell us what that looks like?
Again, I didn't think that was going to be possible. I wasn't going to be punching his punching bag. There was no punching bag in my apartment and no space for it. But in a tight bedroom, boxing, it's called shadow boxing. And what's interesting, I'm watching my image reflected in the computer screen, and I'm actually improving my techniques because I'm getting much better feedback. I'm getting it as I'm doing it. And then he'll often record a piece and clip it and show it back. So I find without having without the equipment, my form is getting better. My speed and my coordination has been improving. And then I keep saying to myself, do I need him there? Well, he's telling me to do the same thing he told me yesterday or 2 days ago. And I keep saying, okay, I'm going to do this on my own on the down days, the days I don't see him. And invariably, there's something else that has to be done. I'll do it in an hour. So the appointments with him give me the confidence to know I'm going to get this job done and stay on this job. And the fact that he's watching me and he's saying, and he's giving me comments to fine tune what I'm doing. I know he's watching, I know he's dedicated to me, and I'm sort of into this, I have this performance part. Not everybody might have that, but I need that. And it brings up all my energy. And I find I'm able to do twice as much when he's there saying very good than I do if there's no one present. So I find that we play that role. There's a family I just got involved with a young preschooler who's stuttering profoundly. And one parent has taken on the project and she's very insecure. I don't think I did it right. I don't think I can do this. And so the fact that I've been able to be present for her and say, what you just show me a 2-minute clip. And I responded last night to the 2-minute clip and said, you are really doing a great job. And she wrote back, thank you so much. I didn't think I was. And so that ongoing feedback. And then the other piece, which relates to my trainer and now to the people I'm working with, where I'm the trainer, is they can review their own. I'm asking them to film a clip and send it to me. That clip is now recorded. They have that clip. I have that clip. They can watch their own form in their own mirror, which might be their cell phone or their computer or their iPad or whatever. So you're getting a lot of different ways of looking at yourself as you're attempting to develop skills or change behaviors, whether they are your own behaviors or you're changing your behaviors to help your child change. So this increased feedback is great for coaching or developing our skills.
was thinking about what you said, and just experiences with you and experiences in life. Sometimes it's like fireworks. You know, you have this really incredible experience. There's this moment in time where you tap into some wisdom, you tap into some groove, you tap into this experience of being in flow, and then it's gone. It's kind of like fireworks. You know, it's brilliant, and then it fades, and it's very hard to recreate. And these touch points that you're talking about, and the benefit of the video, I think in a way, and we've talked about this on our group calls, you know, the idea of journaling or sharing a Google Doc, or, you know, taking notes together during the time that we're meeting in this way, sometimes through Zoom or in person, following up with that, giving people the opportunity to kind of keep a conversation going, whether it's bilateral dialogue or whether it's journaling on their own, that they can then bring different pieces of the week with them when we check in. I think it's an interesting way also to kind of spread and maintain and sustain those flashes of insight. Speaking of which, being that you're in space, I'm just going to try to do my virtual background. There we go. So a lot of this conversation will be over here on Instagram and Facebook, YouTube, and of course, as always, you can still call us. At the end of the day, you know, it's still people. Even if my dad's in the International Space Station, you know, dialing in, we're reachable by phone, by email, through the website. The website has a contact us page, schneiderspeech.com/contact. And if you reach out, we continue to be committed that the most important thing is to get back to people and to get back to them in a short amount of time. So we make that a real priority, and love getting on the phone with people or emailing with people just to make sure that we're there for you to provide a response in a time that you're looking for something, and to figure out if we're a good fit. And if not, you know, we'll try to give you some resources. Amazing. What else would be on your mind that you'd like to share?
Yeah, as you were reflecting, I just thought of another example that's hot on my calendar for shortly after we speak. I got a text message or an email last night from a family that I've recently started with a child who's stuttering pretty severely. And we'd had it's just a couple of weeks that we were working together, and everybody was feeling really great. And the email, which is words typed, said, you know, the kid's really been having an incredibly difficult time, can't speak at all, is upset, we're upset. You know, a whole new dimension of the downside opened up. And I'm sure I can only assume that they're pretty upset. The email doesn't say, you know, it doesn't have words of upset, but the story is upsetting. And it's upsetting to me too, because I love nothing more than a quick fix and a win. I mean, you help a family get rid of a problem and you feel like, wow. So there's a natural urge for me not to want to connect to the pain and discomfort and feelings of frustration and failure. So the old me was that, you know, might have typed something back. But since my relationship with these people has been face to face through the computer and voice to voice, now I feel more than ever that I need to actually physically go to them. I need to sit with them. And if they need to cry or if they need to express their disappointments, I need to be able to be present for that discomfort. And I feel I'm not going to type a note back except to say, would this time be a good time for us to visit? And I'm going to make a visit, and I'm going to make it with my face and my voice as well, just so I can be present with them, going through the downside of the challenge that we're all dealing with there. And never would have occurred to me. And I think that that's much more powerful.
That's amazing. I had a similar experience a couple of days ago. I had reached out to a family. I was working with their school-age son, and things weren't moving as quickly or as easily as everyone would hope. I initiated and said, you know, could we get on a call together with the parents? And immediately the traditional thinking is, well, we don't want to take too much time from Johnny's appointment. I said, well, whatever you wish. I think it would be really important. I have some things I want to share. I want to hear what you have to say, and we can strategize together however you want to use the time, but let's make sure we at least have, 15 minutes. Reluctantly, they both made themselves available, which I was very grateful for. We're talking, and 15 minutes turned into 20 minutes, turned into 30 minutes. And what happened was they turned around and Dad said, yeah, I really didn't want to be here. And I didn't think we needed to do this. And I didn't know why you were so insistent, but I appreciate that you persisted to pull us in, because what happened in the end was I was able to give them the feedback that things weren't happening just in the vacuum of my meetings with this school-age boy who's amazing and totally compliant and totally focused. But there was a need for the parents to kind of be more active and involved and know what's going on so they could support the work and be a part of the process. And in the end, what happened was it didn't become just a parent meeting with me. They said, do you think we could pull Johnny in? I said, absolutely. Johnny joined us, and the four of us had a conversation. They said, should we bring him up to the upstairs where we are, or should he maybe click in from Zoom downstairs? I said, whatever you think would be best. They said, why don't we click him in from downstairs? He'll feel less uncomfortable. So the boy was able to have his own space. The parents are upstairs. I'm here. Dad was able to tell his son how proud he is of his son. Mom was able to share how impressed she is. I was able to give him a stage to show his parents what he's been able to do. And what was amazing, what emerged from that, where we had hit a dead end in what I thought was a fork in the road, or maybe a dead end, time to take a break in my work with this boy, having that meeting totally created a breakthrough and empowered the parents, enlisted the parents. The parents viscerally felt how important their role was and impact is. And the boy was able to get the feedback that he needed. And I can't believe it didn't help the boy to get that feedback from his parents, to see the feedback and encouragement of his parents. I think that's very much a part of, what drove that breakthrough. So sometimes when things, as you've always said, from the place of darkness, sometimes you emerge and find, new blessings, new opportunities, new strength. And obviously, I think of your lessons and example in my work every day, like most of us on the team. But in that one moment, I certainly was thinking, yeah, glad I hung in there and glad I insisted on the parents being, part of the conversation, because in partnership, great things can happen. But when everyone's playing the blame game or responsibility, it's your job to do this with my son, and I expect X, Y, Z, and
I think it's increased the clarity of the model that
Yeah.
had some parents say to me that we feel like we're in therapy. And I said, well, tell me what you mean by that. I said, well, it seems that your focus is on helping us develop some skills and I said, absolutely. Because there's nothing as powerful to a child than what comes from a father and a mother.
Yeah.
Parents or whoever's in the parenting role. So I think it's increased the clarity. And so when I started with this a few weeks ago, it's amazing. It's weeks. But how is it going to work with preschoolers? How am I going to get them to sit facing a screen and doing what, and for me to have a relationship with them around an object, a toy, and playing? I thought that was what it was going to be about. Now I say to the parents, no, your kid doesn't need to be on screen at all. I'm going to help you become a world-class expert, and and then you will be able to help your child on a daily basis. And so when in the past many parents, if you said this outright, they'd feel intimidated that they wouldn't have the ability to do it or the desire or the ability to follow through. And now it's like, I'll support you. I'll check in with you tomorrow. Send me a clip from today and tomorrow, and we'll review it. Find something there. I think I learned this from you, actually. Before you send me the clip, find something in the clip you like about what you did, and something you feel you're improving on, and something you'd like to improve on even more in the next one. And I've included that directive, which I think I got from you. I'm quite sure. It makes it much clearer that that's our model. Our model is helping parents, helping kids. When it comes
to think about another gain of the challenging time of being stuck at home is people people are gaining a better appreciation of what the goal is, of what matters. I'm hearing more parents saying, I still hear the speech difference, whether it's a lisp or a voice thing or a stutter. I still hear it, but I'm recognizing he's talking a lot more at the table, or, he's chatting a lot more free. He's using a lot more of his vocabulary. Wow. And so things like that, or individuals at home, even if it's not working with kids, but it's spending a lot of time with loved ones and having conversations on
Yeah.
Zoom. People are recognizing that the goal, as you always say, it's not a speech goal, it's a communication goal, and recovering the freedom of speech is about recovering your communication and ability to connect with people. So at the same time that you work on those specific metrics and parameters, in the end of the day, that's meaningless if a person isn't talking and communicating and enjoying communicating more. And that, when we're stuck together, is something that people get a window on much more, because they're not seeing their child or their spouse for less time, spending a lot more time. So they get to observe them in a much wider frame.
A couple of more vignettes that have occurred to me that have been advantaged by working with this technology now. One is, there's a classic issue in our profession. It's in all the speech therapy textbooks, which is there's the work and then there's carryover.
Yeah.
And the work refers to what goes on between the professional and the person seeking change. And then there's something else that takes place that we have to have an effect on. And usually that's where it all breaks down. And it breaks down right in the office when the child leaves the office into the waiting room to meet the parents in that model. They go back to their old style. They come to the office a week later, they see you, they're in your room, they talk the way you want them to talk, or the way they think you want them to talk. Then they go out and they do their old style with the parents. This clearly has shifted it. So there isn't the work and the carryover. It's all about what's going on in your home, in your backyard, in the playground, in the supermarket, whatever's going on with the family. It's all about the family. And the situation where I've worked with two people recently who no one could visit physically because they were hospitalized, and both of these people left the hospital, and I've been able to move with them back into their home. And in one case, to engage numerous family members in supporting, in that case, a father who is physically in a different location than his family members. And they are, each of them in their own way, supporting his work on a daily basis. So it's brought the family together rather than feeling just helplessly watching whether he's getting better or not through a phone call, and got them engaged. And they had access to the technology, and it hadn't occurred to them they could apply it this way.
Yeah, and seeing people getting resourceful, people who are otherwise not connected, finding ways to access. So it would be fair to say that with all the acknowledgement of the challenge of these times and the impact of 2020 bringing one, life-shattering experience after the next, we can still do good work. We can still help people. No one should feel alone. No one should feel stuck. And if you're looking for support, if you're looking for free self-help support, there's a world of that available at your fingertips. And professionals like us can also be a resource and work now, even as we're not in the office. Yeah. So thanks for the time. It's an early morning time. I know you're busy. I don't know which rollerblading, walk, or boxing session you moved to make this possible, but I know a lot of people appreciate hearing your voice. Thanks for doing this. If anyone wants to join us, I think my father may be.
Man,
we may also
I'll
have
be
other
there.
special guests.
I'll be there for the parenting one.
Okay, so Sunday, check it out. Sunday morning, this coming Sunday, June 14th. We'll have in the morning a parent meetup. It's free. You can bring your questions, your dilemmas, and your wins. Then in the afternoon, we'll have a meetup for adults who stutter, and then we'll have a meetup for teens who stutter. We also have ongoing weekly group therapy for teens and adults. It's affordable, it's accessible, separate groups for teens, separate groups for adults. And we've also got the new online course. You can comment below or go to the homepage to look for the link for that. There's a free course. You can sign up and get a free course that gives you the full overview, which is basically what we're trying to do, is things like this, but in a much more structured way. Take the nuggets of wisdom that we picked up from my father over the years, maybe from me, from many of the members of the team, and from the people we work with, many things that we've learned from other professionals and everything. Take the experience we do in the office and make it accessible so that people can have their own opportunity to engage and see where they want to go with things. But it's all about connecting and giving people opportunities, and that's what you're all about. So thank you, Abba, and thank you for those that are watching. We wish everybody health and wellness, dignity and justice, and blessings for a great day this Tuesday.
Thanks, Uri. Take care. Bye-bye.